Here we have not tried to glorify or agree with all the points mentioned in the document. The following video series is a factual translation of Chanakya Niti. Many of his Niti are still relevant to our time, but many of his Niti does not imply as righteous from moral ground and living perspective, but it will definitely help you all to understand the people mindset and how the powerful man had implied such discriminating teaching as life lesson.
Chanakya Niti, Chapter 13. A man may live for a moment, but that moment should be spent in doing auspicious deeds. It is useless living even for 1,000 years and bringing only distress. We should not fret for what is past, nor should we be anxious about the future. Men of this central deal only with the present moment. It certainly is nature of the demigods, men of good character, and parents to be easily pleased. Near and distant relatives are pleased when their hospitality received with bathing, food and drink, and pundits are pleased with an opportunity for giving spiritual discourse. Even as the unborn child is in the womb of his mother, these five are fixed as his life destiny, his lifespan, his activities, his acquisition of wealth and knowledge, and his time of death. The doings of the great people are strange. They treat wealth as light as straw, yet when they obtain it, they bend under its weight. He who is overly attached to his family members experiences fear and sorrow, for the root of all grief is attachment. Thus, one should discard attachment to be happy. He who is prepared for the future and he who deals cleverly with any situation that may arise are both happy. But the fatalistic man who wholly depends on luck is ruined. If the king is virtuous, then the subjects are also virtuous. If the king is sinful, then the subjects also become sinful. If the king is mediocre, then the subjects are mediocre. The subjects will follow the example of king. In short, as is the king, so are the subjects. I considered him who does not act religiously as dead though living, but he who dies acting religiously unquestionably lives long though he is dead. He who has acquired neither virtue, wealth, satisfaction of desire, nor salvation lives an utterly useful life like the nipples hanging from the neck of a goat. The hurts of a low man born of others' fame, and they slander others for not being able to rise to such a high position. Excessive attachment to sense pleasure leads to bondage, and detachment from sense pleasure leads to liberation. Therefore, it is the mind alone that is responsible for bondage or liberation. He who sets bodily identification by means of knowledge of the indwelling Supreme Self, Paramatma, will always be absorbed in meditative trance, samadhi, wherever his mind leads him. Who realizes all the happiness he desires. Everything is in the hands of God. Therefore, one should learn contentment. As a calf follows its mother among 1,000 cows, so the good or bad deeds of a man follow him. He whose actions are disorganized has no happiness either in the midst of man or in the jungle. In the midst of man, his heart burns by social contacts, and his helplessness burns him in the forest. As the man who digs obtains underground water by use of a shovel, so the student attains the knowledge possessed by his preceptor through his service. Men reap the fruits of their deeds, and intellect bear the mark of deeds performed in previous lives. Even the man who has taught the spiritual significance of just one letter ought to be worshipped. He who does not give reverence to such a guru is born as a dog 100 times and at last takes birth as a chandala or dog eater. At the end of the Yuga, Mount Meru may be shaken. At the end of the Kalpa, the waters of the 7 oceans may be disturbed. But a sadhu will never serve from spiritual part. There are three gems upon this earth: food, water, and pleasing words. Fools consider piece of rock as gems.